Let's see. Why didn't I bring the leg? Bring the leg! This is Malou, sailing somewhere on the seven seas. And this is me, trying to fix her up to be able to do just that again. Go sail somewhere on the seas. Subscribe and welcome on board. In today's video we're going to be talking about self-steering. Now self-steering is most likely the most or one of the most crucial things when it comes to solo long distance sailing. And today I'm going to be installing my wind pilot, my wind vane thing, sailor mat. Really old sailor mat. It's the first one. It's called the 3040 model, sailor mat 3040. They started to be built here in Sweden during the 70s, and this wind rudder is one of these it's called the auxiliary rudder wind rudder, which means that it has like a smaller rudder that kind of controls the course, and then it has a bigger rudder as well, which just steers the whole boat. So this wind rudder or wind vane is more or less completely just free from the rest of the steering of the boat. So you just lock your regular rudder on your boat, and then this will steer the boat completely by itself, which just makes it a really good thing, because you'll get an emergency rudder in the same package as the wind rudder. Now I'm gonna show you how this thing works in just a bit, but first I'm gonna be just mounting it on the back of the boat to begin with, because it's way easier to just show you the whole functioning thing. the whole functioning thing when it's actually sitting on the boat, to be able to show you how it's actually going to be working on the boat. So I'm going to start by just removing this upper mount here, and then mount that onto the back of the boat, and then lift this thing up, mount it onto here, and then screw this thing in place as well. So here we have this loose leg now, which is going to be mounted to the back of the boat. Let's see. Why didn't I bring the leg? Bring the leg! Gonna have it somewhere here. Now I'm just gonna measure a little bit where it's gonna sit the best for the rudder to be reaching down into the water properly while being out on the ocean. And here you have the actual rudder that's gonna sit on the wind vane and steer the actual boat. So I've been holding this up to the back of the boat now, just doing some measurements where I want it to be, like close to the water line, and how I want it to sit. And I want it to be quite low in the water, so I got a lot of rudder down in the water, while when I'm going surfing down in the trade winds or something, it's still gonna grab a lot of water and be able to keep the right speed and keep the right direction while they're big surfing waves. Because this boat is kind of small, it has a fin keel, so it's not going to keep the course direction as stable as my previous boat, for example, which was a long distance sailboat or long keeled sailboat. But with this rudder, I really hope that it's going to be able to keep the course really good anyways. So now I'm going to hold this thing up to the back of the boat, use some Gorilla Tape for masking so no cracking on the gel coat, and we'll see how this thing is going to fit. It's going to be up here. I'm just going to do last few measurements so it keeps completely straight and completely centered, and then good to go. This thing is bloody solid. It's like, I don't know, like cast iron or something. These things are just stainless steel all over the place, and then you got the whole mechanism inside here, which is fixing the whole steering. These things is what's corroded, so I've been able to get them out a little bit, to move this foot just a little bit, get it lined up, but I won't be able to get this foot off, put it on the boat. So this is gonna have to do for now. I'm also gonna make like a wind catcher, which is a thing that sits right here on the wind vane and just steers the boat towards the angle of the wind, kind of. So I'm gonna use a aluminum rod here to do that. Just gonna measure some stuff where I'm gonna have the locking screw here. So right there, yeah, nice little black there. To make this one wide enough here, I'm gonna use Gorilla Tape. So time to get this thing Up to mom, right there. There, you got it in place. Fitted these onto here. Now it looks good. It's a little bit forward leaning kind of, which is not perfect, but it's just a tiny bit. And the boat is also a little bit forward leaning on the dry here, so the boat is going to sit back a little bit when it comes into water, which means that the wind pilot is also going to sit back a little bit, which will make it more or less completely straight. Nice, look at that. That looks so good. Time to go back to the making of the wind catcher kind of thingy. So this aluminum rod that I have will go in here, and then I'm going to see which one of these screws will go through it to fix the rod right to this stuff here. So I think it's gotta be an... damn it. Dropped it in there. Welcome to my wind catcher mechanical shop, kind of. Here I marked where I'm gonna make the hole for the screw that's gonna fix this thing to the actual wind vane. Need some drills for that. Now I've been grinding this hole down here so this head fits perfectly in here, which means that it's gonna fit in to the actual slot as well where it's gonna be, and then I'm just gonna wrap around a few layers of Gorilla Tape here to make it fit snug in there, and then around here as well to just get it snugly there. Then this wing nut is there to just tighten on to lock it in place, and then I'm gonna create the actual sail, the actual wind catching mechanism. Now that's what I call a perfect home fix right there. And those of you who doubt the longevity of the Gorilla Tape, this thing, then this patch right here, that one's been sitting there for almost 2 years now, and there's no showing that it's affected by the UV or anything like that. So this little stick thing is just gonna sit there whenever I'm sailing. It's just gonna last forever as well. Now let's go to the actual wind catcher. The whole idea right now is to take this stick, then this little screw thingy is like this long thing that you can just cut in the length that you want. Pull that through here, just tighten it with nuts right there, make it like this long or something, then do the same thing down here, which will make a sail shape kind of thing, just rims, and then just wrap it with Gorilla Tape as well for the sail. Yeah, like 60 centimeters, something like that. I think I'm gonna create like a more light wind kind of wind catcher today, and then I'm gonna create smaller wind catchers as well later on. Now this thing is done. It's not the most pretty wind catcher I ever seen, but it actually feels quite sturdy, to be honest. And I'm gonna put it on the boat, see how it looks, see how it performs. It already starting to work its magic. Now, if I put it off, the wind's coming from over there right now. So if I put it like here on the side, the wind's catching, and then it's turning around and it's facing the wind. Really, really good. And now it's blowing about, I don't know, 7-8 meters per second, and you can see that it's just catch the wind properly, and that looks actually surprisingly good, I must say. Now there's some proper engineering for you guys right there. So now I'm just gonna assemble the whole wind rudder and give you a little run through of how this thing works and how it's gonna steer the boat on the big oceans. There you have both the rudder and this little other steering rudder as well attached. And the whole idea now, which I'm gonna run you through, is that the thing up there, you know, the thing that I made before, the wind thing, is gonna just create an angle towards the wind and then steer these rudders. So now, while this thing right here is still, the rudders are lined up like straight. And then, when this thing is moving a little bit, this small rudder right here turns. So now you see, when I turn this, the thing up there is moving as well, right? So turning the rudder and that's moving, so that attached to each other. And then when the rudder, this one is turning, it sways out to the side, and when that sways out, you see this rudder is turning as well, the big one. And when it sways to the other side, it's turning to the other side. So that's the way it's working. So when the boat is moving upwind or downwind or something, the wind is hitting this wind catcher from a different direction. It falls over, that thing moves, creates movement in this rudder, which moves to the side, and this rudder turns in the different direction, which will turn the boat back to the direction that you want to go. So basically you have this wind catching thing facing the wind directly sideways, and that's the way you want it to go. And if you lose the course, it's just going to tilt over. These things are going to work its magic, and you're going to get back on your course. A little bit like magic, you could say, or just super good Swedish engineering, maybe, like the stuff that I did before. And this rudder is also serving as a backup rudder, an emergency rudder, which this thing right here is all about. So here you got this thing on the sides here, you got a hole going through, which means that you can actually connect a tiller to this rudder and then steer the boat by hand just using the wind vane, which is just super good. If I would lose the steering in the middle of the ocean with the main rudder for some reason, then I could just keep going and steer the boat with this backup wind vane, which is a really good thing to have actually, and that's usually a thing the long distance sailboats lacks, actually, a really good backup rudder. Well, this one is basically gonna work as good as the main rudder would do, so that's just such a good thing actually. I think that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe as well, and I will see all you beautiful people in the next video. Take care, bye.